the Football Pod on Off the Ball in partnership with AIB, proud sponsors of the Football, Hurling and Camogie All-Ireland Club Championships. Hashtag the toughest.
Hello there, and you're very welcome along to the Football Pod. It's a Monday afternoon. It's late in the evening on a Monday, but the sun is still shining, so hopefully you'll have the podcast this evening before you hit the hay, or if not, you'll get it in the morning on Tuesday. James Donoghue and Paddy Andrews, we were both in the same vicinity on Saturday. Paddy had the shades on and a jacket for some reason in 20-degree heat in Killarney.
Wasn't 20 degrees.
We were looking down going, what's wrong with this fella? I'll tell you what was wrong. Playing golf with Barry John Keane and Mark O'Shea and the pints that followed.
Didn't help, Tommy, I'm not going to lie. I have been fresher recording matches before. But you know what? Like, how many games have we been at, lads, in the last couple of years? We were sitting in the stand and it is absolutely baltic.
Freezing. Yeah.
Even if it's not a cold day out, just sitting in the stand, you're freezing. So I'd rather have an extra jacket than not. We were in Portlaoise the Sunday before and it was about minus 20 in Portlaoise, so I'm not making the same mistake. But in hindsight, like, no one saw the weather being that good on Saturday.
No.
I got sunburned. It was like 14 degrees and I got fucking sunburned. But I was slightly fragile after I seen the sights of Tralee on Saturday night, or Friday night with Mark now, and a few of his buddies. So,
yeah. What do you make of Tralee Golf? What do you make
Tralee
of
Golf is amazing. Tralee Golf Club is, for me, one of the top golf courses in Ireland. It's savage. Always, anytime I'm down the Kingdom, try and make me business to get out there and play. So,
do you play anything?
Nice. No, we did a few of the points got in the way now. We played probably 15 holes, like. We had a couple of pit stops, but it was a great day out. Like. It was great. Struggling Saturday morning now. Went into the National Park to blow off a few cobwebs, and then down to Fitzgerald Stadium for what turned out to be maybe not a classic game, but probably closer than we thought. Like,
we got a quarter, but I think we'll come
more,
back.
More than a quarter.
I thought we got 3 quarters.
Cork gave us a quarter, lads. And I want to press pause in the Cork Kerry chat because the excitement really began later that afternoon. And Paddy, you asked the question last week. You said it'd want to be some effing trick. Well, McGuinness pulled it out of the bag, and Donegal pulled it out of the bag.
Donegal pulled it out of the bag, absolutely. They were probably helped a little bit at times by Derry, but no, humble pie, being well eaten. It was very, very impressive from Donegal. Full value for it. I know we're going to get to some of the key points from the game. There was a lot of talk, obviously, after. It was one of the most high-profile early championship games in a long, long time. There was massive, obviously, coverage on it. And it was a surprise. Jimmy, you were kind of leaning towards Donegal last week. You felt they'd have something up their sleeve.
I don't know who said goals.
Well, goals. It's obvious they're going to have a massive part of it, but the goals Donegal got, some of them well worked, some of them Derry, I'm sure they probably have reviewed it already by now. They'd be looking going, what the hell were we doing there? But what a win for Donegal, and what it does, not just for the Ulster Championship, wide open Ulster Championship now. You're looking at Armagh, who played down this Saturday on the other side of the draw. They probably would have been gunning for an Ulster Championship at the start of the season, and they've got to fancy their chances now on their side. Donegal, with the momentum they're going to pick up from that. They're out in it this week, so it's a quick turnaround, and they play Tyrone on Sunday. But someone's going to win that Ulster Championship, and not just the title itself, which is going to be big for any of those counties, but the seeding it gives them in the All-Ireland series as well. Someone can have a massive summer off the back of that result on Saturday night. But Donegal, what a win for them, for those players who put in unbelievable work, and for Jim McGuinness, obviously, it was an incredible performance. But
I'd actually have Donegal favourites for Ulster now. Definitely, I think they'll beat Tyrone, and I think they'll fancy their chances in the final end against probably an Armagh. But they were so up to the pace of the championship from the get-go. Whereas I thought Derry looked like they weren't as hyped for it or something. Do you know the way that Donegal got to this intensity level that Derry couldn't get to? Like, Derry won't be too disheartened in terms of their long-term future because the goals were calamitous. they still kicked 17 points and left. They probably left 10 after them, dropping them short and kicking them. I think they're 17 wides.
Yeah. Particularly
So,
second half.
like, they were fine in attack, but they need to sort out that the kick out situation, which was, it just looks so off. I mean, to keep doing it, fair enough, get caught once, just get caught twice. They were caught 3 or 4 times. Even before the first goal went in, they could have conceded the one before that. So it just looked like they were
the semi-final of 2022, Colbert's goal like this.
Yeah,
Derry've been caught. Odhran Lynch has been caught, and I don't like putting the blame. And Odhran Lynch probably getting a lot of stick. It's not solely him by any means. You know, it's clearly a tactic. He's the most high-profile part of it. But Derry will learn massively from that. You've got to think they'd be disappointed because the momentum that they've lost. They seem to be. They were the team, and they had all of that. They've lost that now.
Can I ask about that? About learning from it? Right, because, they'll learn, okay? And we know what Mickey Hart can do with a team going through the back door. He did it with Tyrone in the noughties. And Derry I said it beforehand, I don't think Derry have a huge need to win Ulster. But I would have serious questions over the in-game management there.
I was going to say the same thing. They should have been able to switch something on the field as a group. Do you know, they just let it happen, let it keep happening was the problem.
So you're saying it's not necessarily the management, it's the players that can react, because I was at Clare Limerick on Sunday, and yes, it's a different sport, but I don't think John Kiley and Paul Connacht actually did much in the 53rd minute when that game began to turn. They threw on a couple of subs.
No, you can see Kane Lynch
and Sean Finn and a couple of tweaks. They grew into the game, and they obviously changed that in the pitch. Like the Derry lads, why didn't that happen? You saw Ryan McHugh eating Sean Patton out of it. Do you remember when Patton goes off injured? And he clearly didn't cop the rule that he had to enter in the halfway line. And you could actually hear Ryan McHugh going nuts at him. Like, come on. Like,
what do you think should have happened there? Jimmy, if that was Kerry, what would you have done? Say the first goal goes in, plus there's probably 2 other opportunities in the first half where Donegal don't actually score goals from it. But you can see this is not looking good. What do you guys change there? Do you just turn around to Odhran Lynch and say, get the fuck back into goal?
Yeah.
Or what do you do? Because the tactic before the game, and not just on Saturday, they've used this, and lots of teams are using this, where the goalkeeper's coming out to block off a side of the pitch. I don't mind that tactic. I'm not mad on it, but I've other reservations about goalkeepers getting involved. But that one, my view on it, I look back at the 4 goals in particular, and I get the goalkeeper coming out, but he's ahead of 5 Derry defenders. Why not Odhran Lynch come out and be the last man but play on the 21 and push the defenders up a line? Yeah. I know you're going to lose your matchup on that play, and Chrissy McCaig might be on Oisin Gallen for that particular play, but I'd rather have outfield players further up the pitch.
Unless you're begging.
And this is the thing. Some goalkeepers, Morgan, Began, Ethan Rafferty, because he's actually a fucking outfield player, and the least young fella who's getting scores. Those 4 guys are adept and make an impact, not just on kickouts, but outfield in play. But there's 25 other goalkeepers in other counties who are not adding anything.
Yeah, my point on
Began, I do not think is great on it. But back to the kickout and these situations, the goals. Why is Odhran Lynch? There's 5 Derry defenders behind them. It's just, why is he up that high? Because the reality is, I don't like saying this, lad, he's not the most aerobic to get back. I think that's clear.
Well, I clocked it up, right? And I don't know if that's...
He's struggling to get back. And why put yourself in that position?
Sorry, Paddy. That was not a lack of athleticism to get back. And this is one of my big questions about there. You said that Donegal Championship ready. That was... I watched it back. It's not a lack of athleticism. It's a lack of paranoia. He goes 50 metres in 12 seconds. 50 metres in 12 seconds.
Darrell O'Brien's second goal is a lack of athleticism. It's an OG.
Well, the first goal, he starts
sprinting. First goal, he thinks someone else is going to pick him up, and that's a separate point. But
I don't know. I just thought it was a lack of paranoia. And I think that's a big word that gets used in Championship a lot. Are you paranoid? Are you looking over your shoulder? Are you ready to hit someone? Derry didn't look paranoid. James.
But like even when you're say the kick out, you're playing right half forward, and the kick out goes left. So you have to sprint back then from right half forward just to fill a spot. You're sprinting that. Never mind sprinting back to an empty goal. Like, that has to be an absolute panic run. And they just didn't. That's why I'm thinking they didn't seem 100% tuned in, fire in the belly like they usually are. And Donegal were. Well, I thought McGuinness was very cute. I think it was completely down to McGuinness and his tactics on it. And they were just hanging them up there for runners to be coming in. Yeah, they were hitting them on top of fellas who were standing. This is my problem with the zone sometimes, right? So you're in your zone, you're in a position. If the ball is landing straight on top of your head, you don't really have any momentum to run in and catch it or flick it. Whereas the Donegal fellas...
Someone's getting a run on you, yeah.
Yeah, they were getting a run on the jumper from the Derry side. And all McGuinness' teams, they never worry about... when you're taught about a break, it's always down in front of the jumpers. They're always thinking in behind. Going back to their games against Paddy where they were catching in over the top, they're constantly thinking of the long one.
Carbon copy, like a Wales second goal with the flick on when he gets on.
Oh, it was class.
It's just like I've seen this before. I've seen that.
And they have worked on it. They have practiced the shit out of that over the last couple of weeks.
They've practiced that for 10 years, like.
So Eamon Fitzmaurice wrote a column at the weekend.
Tommy, look at the league final. Derry got the exact same joy on Dublin from long kickouts flicked through. It's not as blatant because the Dublin goalkeeper's not out of position, but their teams are taking big risks on pushing up on kickouts, and I like that. I agree with that. But I thought an issue Dublin had in the league final and an issue Derry had in particular on Saturday night, and I don't think they'll abandon this. I do not think they're going to see Odhran Lynch in the All-Ireland series staying on his goal line. But it's the transition, and Jimmy, you've hit the nail on the head. We used to always say this. A kick-out is a defensive play. Even though you're being aggressive and you're pushing up, if the ball is on the other side, you are pissing back. There's no hesitation at all. You are seesaw. Like in soccer, the ball goes left, the right side of the pitch. You sprint back. That's it. And if you look, the first goal, Jimmy, did you notice what else stood out about that first goal?
Chrissy McCaig.
The Chrissy McCaig didn't go into the goals, but that's because he's an out-and-out defender. He was like, I'm detailed to mark you, and I am not. I know, it was a mistake.
Look at McCluskey. Conor McCluskey leaves his man and just goes, fuck, we're under pressure here. Because Odhran Lynch is 50 yards out from goal, and he's like, he's not getting back. McCluskey sprints back, and literally the other side of the screen is McCaig. And he's the last man.
Facing the wrong way.
Facing the wrong way. You're like, I get that, right? And again, Chris McCaig is a brilliant defender and has been a brilliant defender. And he gets a lot of joy by being so specific. I'm marking my man. I'm not mad on that because team defence should trump that. But I get it. He's like, I'm an Ushing Gal. I'm just going to face him. You can't do that if your goalkeeper's 50 yards out from goal. And that's what I mean. If you're going to play that tactic, you have to have balance and manage the transition if it goes wrong. And it's the exact same thing that Dublin need to take from the National League, that they were caught and they couldn't deal with the transition over the top. And Derry, I don't mind the tactic, but if you lose it, your response has to be so seamless. And that's why they'll get better from this. But the other night, it was just car crash stuff. And that's more so than attitude or fitness. I just don't think they've mastered that. If you're going to play that way, Chris McKay can't defend like he does for 99% of other plays. And just literally watch his man as the ball is grown into the net behind him. It was just insane looking. And that's where it's bar Odhran Lynch on the Darrow Wheel second goal, where I just think he's got to, it's an OG more than anything. I just think that the system, if they're playing that way, they have not mastered transition if they lose it. A kick out is a defensive play first and foremost. Yeah,
it's a fair point. And it's actually, when you mentioned the league final, I think the manner in which Donegal attacked those kickouts and Derry were set up, even if Odhran Lynch is standing in his goals, you're probably getting 2 goals from those.
They're under pressure,
yeah. And just from watching back, and it was the lack of paranoia in that first. And I don't know what it is. Maybe he does think his defenders are going to cover him. But when the ball leaves Patton's boot for the first goal, there is 18 minutes and 28 seconds gone. When O'Boyle's shot hits the net across the line, 18:40, 12 seconds. Like, it's a 50-meter run. Like, what distracted him that he didn't get back? I don't know. And like James,
just a bit of
he's thinking McCaig is maybe going to go back in and he'll pick up Gallen.
It didn't make sense. Maybe. Yeah,
they hadn't planned for worst case scenario. Like in that situation, they hadn't.
But James, in your experience, like Donegal go along with 18 out of 22 restarts. They scored 3-2 from it. So that's 80% of their kickouts, leading to 48% of their scores. How does something not change mid-game?
Yes, Paddy asked the question. I would have said that Odhran Lynch nearly could have made a call, first of all, to say, lads, I've been caught here twice, or even once. I'm staying back for a while. We'll regroup at half-time. That would have been the first one. Or maybe one of your midfielders or your leaders would have said to him, Odhran, get back in goals for a while and we'll settle this down, because this has clearly been targeted by a brilliant manager on the other side. It was their main tactic to break them down. So I think that they should have made an in-game call there to change it, because in the end, honestly, it was actually almost, it was funny. It was like, they're caught again. You know, they left it go on far too long.
Jamie Brennan's final goal, you're just like, what is going on here?
It was comical stuff, yeah. I'm shocked that an All-Ireland contender got caught that many times in a championship match with the same thing. Like when you actually think about it, it was going on too long. It happened too many times. If you're caught once, you're thinking that's a goal. A goal is more than 3 points. We always say it. To be caught for 3 of them, mad.
Yeah, maybe it's the tipping point and they learn from it.
But it wasn't. If you look at, there's 12 minutes gone in that game, and Donegal clear tactic that they're going to attack in numbers, which we've seen glimpses of through the National League, which is really good. But when they lost the ball, they were getting everybody back. Okay, so that's fine. There's no issue with that. And there you go, 3-1 up. And I mean, 3 of the most textbook scores you can get against the set defence. Playing around the arc, patient, pop it out to Ethan Doherty, kicks a great score. Pop one out to Paul Cassidy on the other side, the left-hand side, great score. Conor Doherty comes up on a long-range kick, which we kind of question if Derry have those guys. And you're thinking 3-1. This is like if you were writing a manual on how to play and break down a set defence, Derry are on top here. And you're thinking it's going according to plan for everyone. Odhran Lynch gives away the ball and a kick pass. And this is beside the kick out. I'm not mad on goalkeepers coming out, getting involved in play that aren't really adding to it. Like I said, we've named the ones that do. The likes of Began, Morgan, Ethan Rafferty.
But Lynch,
there's a lot of goalkeepers that don't.
Over the last few years, scored points. He has from play. I would have him in a tier that's probably just beneath the top. But I do think that...
Is the risk worth what most goalkeepers that come out?
I think Derry need it, the way that they play. Because when you talk about the set defence that Donegal set up, and Fitzmaurice is right about this
he wasn't penetrating he wasn't breaking lines or anything like that.
No, I know. But typically what Derry do on that set defence, when they do face it, and they do face it quite a bit, is they go man-to-man. But what Donegal did yesterday was, instead of allowing Derry to go man-to-man, their set defence moved zonally, and they actually attacked the player with the ball. They doubled up on the player with the ball, which actually caught Derry out a little bit because they haven't faced that much. So, like Lynch, I do agree.
Do you think he added to the attack?
I don't think they're going to change this that much. I think they might change the kick outside of things.
Do you think?
I don't think Lynch adds to the attack in the way that Rory Began does.
Yes. So the majority of goalkeepers, every team is doing this now. And how many goalkeepers are actually adding to the attack? Not just getting a hand pass and hand pass them across the pitch, which 90% of them are doing.
I still like the idea of the keeper coming out. If I had a team, I would encourage my keeper to create that overlap and to be the extra man. I think there's something in it. But you're right about the risk reward. The risk is gigantic. The risk
every week in the championship we've seen goalkeepers being cut out. Every week so far. And we'll continue to see it.
Yeah. We will. Yeah.
I'm suspect of it. But if you look at that first quarter, the first 12, 30 minutes, Derry are performing exactly as they would have hoped. Mm-hmm. And the little mistakes start creeping in and allows Donegal into it. But the key, outside of the kickouts and the goals, what Donegal did, which was brilliant, and we've seen glimpses of this in the National League, but we've seen probably a lot more of it. Paddy Morgan, Ryan McHugh, exceptional in the first half. Yeah. Breaking at pace. Purpose. Absolute, total and utter purpose. Commitment to the attack. And Donegal brought that. And it such dividends. It doesn't matter if you've 15 guys back. If you've got a guy who's going to go at pace and you got 2 or 3 of them, like McHugh, Paddy Morgan, he gets his own score, flips one off just before half time to the cornerback, was Curran.
No, Kieran Moore. He had a brilliant
game
himself. Yeah.
And it's so hard to defend against. It's brilliant from Donegal. And we just hadn't seen enough of that in the last number of years. And then they have the players to do it. That's even without Owen Gallagher. And it's just... There was moments outside of just the kind of high profile, maybe mistakes on Derry's side, that Donegal were such. It was a brilliantly executed game plan. Derry didn't help themselves, but there was lots to be impressed with outside of the kind of high profile mistakes for Donegal.
James, any more positives for Donegal? Like, Paddy mentioned Kieran Moore there. For me, the emergence of him has been a huge positive. The return of Brendan McCole, he takes McGuigan again and does a brilliant job on him. And then you've got the likes of Niall O'Donnell, who have been out since the unions controversy a couple of years ago, coming back and making a big impact.
I must say I was so impressed with them, but I think it's their mindset looks on point. Do you know when last year you could tell that it was a fractured dressing room? They kind of didn't have. It's like they had no path or something. They had no vision of where the group was going. I think they're so clear on what they want to do and where they're going under McGuinness. I think he is just such a good manager. You could even see after the game, they were so not relieved, but like they knew that was a big result for them. You could see their celebrations on the field, how much they targeted that game. I don't think that Derry went at that game as much as Donegal did. I think it's a big result for Donegal and for their trajectory.
Yeah. And I'd say what you were speaking about how impressed you were with Donegal there. Another man that was incredibly impressed with Donegal was Brian Dooher. There's no words that could do it justice how good they were. It was as good a performance as I have seen. They just dismantled Derry basically, who are 2 in a row Ulster champions, league champions, and that's what they did in some style. They had phenomenal pace, phenomenal work rate. It was a great match to watch. To be fair to Derry, give them credit too, but Donegal's goals are real exhibition stuff. Jim was here today at the game, and I'm not sure he'll go away too worried. Let's be honest about it. Our performance today was nowhere near it. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that performance is nowhere near what we need for Donegal. We go in, and Donegal will be big favourites by a country mile. Is there any point Tyrone turning up in 7 days' time after going through 100 minutes of a battle that they did with Cavan?
What a game this was as well, lads, to be fair. Brilliant game.
But just last thing on Donegal, right? Do you know what they do differently to other teams? I find a lot of teams don't have any speed when they actually have the ball. Do you know how often you'd actually see someone sprint solo the ball down the field or cutting lines as fast as they can? The game has slowed down because teams are afraid of turnovers. So everyone's doing everything. They're kind of minding the ball a bit more. They're operating at a reduced pace. But Donegal just sprint everywhere. And I think I actually heard it about McGuinness's training that he does very simple drills, but everything is 100 miles an hour, over and over and over again. It mightn't be the most riveting drill. It could be a basic drill, but they just sprint through these simple drills. And you can see it then in games, the way they move.
Mogan, Moore, McHugh, McGonigal, they're all running like that, like 100 miles an hour. The 2 O'Donnells.
The third goal for the penalty epitomises that. If you look at that play, Conor Glass, I don't think it's a shot, he's kind of putting it across into the square and it breaks. And this kind of went under the right. Ryan McHugh comes out like an absolute train. Everything he does is a million miles an hour, but he hits a kick pass
down
on
the
run.
line.
No, over. Paul Cassidy's cutting into the middle, and it's Darrow Boyle is like running behind him, and it's not really on. But McHugh at full tilt, like lobs it over Paul Cassidy into O'Boyle's path, who's running at full tilt as well. And then he has a dummy solo and takes out, I think it's Kieran McFall, and then pops it to Shane O'Donnell, who's also going at full tilt up the sideline. And just without breaking stride, Donegal have taken out the whole Derry defence. And Shane O'Donnell goes full tilt. And to be fair, again, it's a mix up in the Derry defence. Baker's picking up.
Yeah, Baker did the same thing as McCaig, didn't he? He just minded his own man, didn't he?
But this may be defenders. I'm conscious we're full forwards here. Like Shane O'Donnell's going at full pace. Gallen's coming out, and Baker's following him at full pace. and McCaig is coming across. If all those people are going at full tilt, you can't pass the man on. It's too difficult to pass a man on if one guy's going that way at full pace and the other guy's coming this way. There's no time to communicate or change your pattern. And Chrissy McCaig is waiting for that handover. And Baker, there's no way he's going full tilt with Gallen. He's not going to pass him on. And McCaig's hesitation, that allows O'Donnell to get in behind him, and then he pulls him down for a penalty. But whatever about the mix-up defensively, all the players involved in Donegal's play there, from McHugh receiving the ball, then the unbelievable kick pass to O'Boyle, to O'Donnell, it's all full tilt.
Yeah.
And nail on the head, Jimmy. It's against any defence, particularly set defences, but against any defence, if you have guys attacking with purpose, and I mean flat to the fucking mat, it is so hard to stop. And you're right, Donegal at their best, whatever McGuinness is training, but the players they have, that suits them as well. And we just hadn't seen it enough, really, in more than 3, 4, 5 years ago. And Saturday night was as much about how brilliant they were and organised they were defensively, making Derry play around the arc. The kickouts obviously was unbelievably, and they got such reward out of it. But that running game and the execution of it was spectacular.
Yeah, no, it really was. The other game in Ulster. 53 minutes into this game, similar to the way it was in Ennis. Clare leading Limerick by 9 points in the hurling. Cavan are 8 points down to Tyrone. Hampstead gets a black card a couple of minutes before that. So 5 minutes into the black card, Breen O'Donnell gets Cavan's second goal, and the comeback begins. Now, we're looking at a Tyrone side that had played quite well in that game at times. They were missing Peter Hart, Frank Burns, Conor Myler, Con Kilpatrick, Cormac Quinn. They actually handed out 9 Ulster Championship debuts. Aidan Donaghy started midfield, Kieran Daly wing forward, Conal Devlin wing back, Liam Gray, a surprise start at wing forward and got the goal, and they brought on 5 more from the bench who were making their debut. So Tyrone have come through just about a real battle with Cavan. Now, one of the biggest talking points in this game is probably Cavan's inability to get that shot off at the very
end.
end.
They had no pace. They didn't inject any pace into it. And
Coldrick was letting them go to a point. Like.
Yeah,
I think Coldrick owed him a couple of decisions.
Was Coldrick the ref in that famous game in Ballybuffet? He was, Tommy, wasn't he? Where Derry had the exact same thing against Donegal a couple of years ago.
When Glass is off the shoulder
across and he blows it up. Was it Coldrick?
Let me double check that. I'm not sure because
we've spoken about this before.
Yeah.
But if he was going to blow it, he could have blown it at the kick out.
2021. You're right.
And once he let the kick out get off, you're going, right, he's got to give them a go here. He's got to let them go. And there's about 3 times where he don't go back. Even just any sort of forward, even hand passing forward. But you can hear the crowd going, and you just got the sense that they could play for 5 minutes here and they're not going to get a shot.
That's what I was thinking. They wouldn't have got one off if he didn't blow it up. They weren't getting one off quickly. Like they weren't going to get it off. They're the finer details of championship that you have to work on. That's like in the summer. They're the things you work on: kickouts and plays, scenarios in the last minutes of games. What you do, and you have to expose yourself to those situations constantly to then have the confidence to do it in the end of the game. Because you could tell that Cavan didn't have a plan in that situation. They were kind of winging it, and they just ran out of ideas.
3 of the 4th seeds last year in the All-Ireland Round Robin Series actually got through to the preliminary quarterfinals. Can you see Cavan causing teams bother?
Yeah. As in, preliminary quarterfinal is probably their max. I don't see them in an All-Ireland quarterfinal. I don't. For 50 odd minutes, they were well outplayed, and like, this is not a vintage Tyrone team, particularly with all the missing bodies. Matty Donnelly back was a big plus. I think he ended up getting man of the match as well. But Cavan will be disappointed because they kind of got themselves into a position. I was more looking at the final play in normal time for the fist of point.
Yeah.
What do you think? You've got to square that, have you not?
I thought originally.
I don't know.
I thought originally you square it, but I don't know whether this was a stroke of genius. McLaughlin's in the square already. Now I don't know if the umpires are ruling it out, but technically,
I wouldn't trust the umpires. I'm taking square that, and it's a goal.
Technically,
those umpires were delighted to be getting involved there.
The umpires would have got that one wrong. Like. Ronan O'Toole, or not? What's your man's name? It's the cornerback from Monaghan. Not Ronan O'Toole, the Westmeath forward.
Ryan O'Toole.
Ryan O'Toole. gets the goal in Oman last year, wins it.
Yeah. Yes.
Just kick it over the bar, get the draw, and he wins it for them. I was thinking, you could just see him at the back post. He's like, square it, goal. You're going to win the game. Unbelievable comeback.
Yeah. What do you think, James?
Cornerback, I was I wouldn't have backed him to finish it himself. Obviously, if there was a blatant tap in, fair enough. But I think it was. Definitely. Sometimes I'm very critical of fellas taking the point there. I think I wouldn't be too critical there, especially after such a great comeback. They were just get this over the bar and we're back. Yeah, we have a chance. Because if you missed, imagine if you missed that, and then you were going back into the dressing room.
Himself, Jimmy.
But it's his decision. The play's in his hands. It's the play's in his hands. It's his call to make it. If he has to go back into the dressing room after messing that up, after the effort to come back with all the goals and all the action, if they had to go into the dressing room after losing from that chance, I think it would have nearly been unforgivable. So I'll give it to him. I'll leave him off the half pass over the bar.
Yeah, I felt it should have been. He made the right call watching it back. I just thought the angles might have been a bit tight from him, and McLaughlin was in the square. Paddy, the Tyrone team in this game, they blew kind of hot and cold. Maybe that's because of the amount of the young lads that are starting.
Is that a surprise, Tommy?
We'd said it coming into it that we didn't know what we were going to get from them. We got lots of good stuff from Kerry and Cavan.
We know they have
and then there was just times where they just disappeared.
Look, Brian, they were probably saying exactly what you'd expect them to say, putting a bit of pressure on Donegal. Donegal have now, whatever about the spotlight being on Derry pre-Ulster Championship after the National League, win, the spotlight is well and truly on Donegal now. That's one of the stories of the season so far, to go and beat Derry in their own place and beat them well in the way they did. Pressure's on now to turn it around in a week. Both teams, like Donegal's style of play is very attritional. That getting bodies back, then breaking at pace, high octane play. That heat to turn it around in a week. They didn't seem to have many knocks or niggles. Obviously, Patton goes off at the end. He's such an important player for them in goal.
Yeah.
And then Tyrone, with a day's less recovery, again going the full 90 minutes. They already had a lot of injuries. It's hard to get a read on. You said it, Jimmy. Like Donegal, they had their eyes on that performance from a long way out. Yeah. I'd say since the draw was bloody made, Derry, Mickey Hart, Donegal, it was like that gives you such an emotional edge. It drives a lot of stuff off the pitch. It drives the training. They've climbed that mountain. They got the victory. Can they raise those levels again and do that? A similar performance, what will be 8 days later against Tyrone? That's the challenge for Donegal. For Tyrone, it's not a bad position for them to be going into this game in. We've shown glimpses against Cavan. They've shown glimpses in all their games, but there's no consistency in their play. And Brian Dewar kind of looked a bit annoyed after the match. I don't know whether he was annoyed. He was just pulling the players off the pitch. He was basically shouting at them all to get off the pitch. I don't know, was that start recovering straight away, or was he pissed off that they'd nearly thrown away the game and lost
do you know the way all these in-house counties are now doing their own in-house media?
Like the
Tyrone media, I think, put a video together, and there's a great shot of the Tyrone bench afterwards, all embracing each other at the end of extra time, and you could just hear one of the young Tyrone lads, I couldn't see who it was, but you can just hear him shouting, "Let's get the fuck out of here." As if they had just survived Breffni Park. Just get out of here.
Maybe that was Dewar's approach, but for him, I mean, like their whole story kind of hinges on how good McCurry and Cavan could be, because they're match winners, both of them together. You look at Brendan McCall did a great job on McGuigan. Now, it wasn't just him dealing with McGuigan, it was the defensive system and how organised Donegal were. That would be very difficult for Cavan and McCurry to break down. If you think one of the big issues we said only a couple of weeks ago about Tyrone was they have brilliant players like those two, exceptional forwards, but that cohesion up front, if you're playing against a defence that's as organised and as intense and as hungry as Donegal, you cannot do it on your own. You need cuts, you need screens, you need to get players around the arc. Have Tyrone shown any of that at all? They've shown individual brilliance, but they haven't shown any of that sort of organisation, attacking game plan outside of individual stuff. So that's why I think it's a big ask. Like Donegal are obviously going to go in as favourites. I know Dewar's going to say that anyway, but But I just think the systems and the structure of play, it'll be hard for Cavan and McCurry to have standout games against that defence.
Yeah, we're going to get into that now in the members pod later in the week.
Sorry, but anyway,
we'll be previewing it because I want to get the Connacht. You are listening to the Football Pod. It's brought to you every week with thanks to AIB, proud sponsor of the Senior Football Championship. Check out hashtag the toughest for more. Galway survive in Markievicz Park. Just about. What is going on in Galway? We know about the injuries, but they started this game with what I would see is arguably their first choice front 11. Like goalkeeper all the way up to Shane Walsh, the centre forward. Now, you can say there's rustiness, same as the other counties that we're seeing around the country. Arguably Rob Finnerty could start in their best team too, and Finnerty is the man that gets the goal and breaks out the Cole Palmer celebration.
I did see this, yeah.
I was a big fan of that. But I think the introduction of Damien Comer off the bench is what made the difference here. He scores 2 points. He brings in energy and aggression. He plays a big role in the goal. But they were in serious bother. 63 minutes into this game, Sligo were 3 points up. Canis Mulligan, the under-20 captain last year, had a great game in midfield. Niall Murphy led the charge, 3 points. Paddy O'Connor kicked 3 points from half forward. Sligo look full value for this. Now, the highlights that we got afterwards, I don't know what they were shot on. They weren't very good. So it was hard to see much from this game. But like, it's just not great reading for Galway going into that Connacht final.
No, I'd fear for Galway. There's something not right in that camp. I just don't think they've captured any form yet this year. And I know they're on paper they look at full strength, but as we've said before, you need time on the field together to be building relationships, building fitness, building confidence. There's so many building blocks to go into it. I don't think they've put down any foundation this year. You know, they've had, as we said, 20 injuries. They haven't gotten any momentum going. I'd fear for them. I'd have definitely Mayo as very strong favourites to beat them. I can't see any big success in Galway's future this year. I can't see it. I can't see it.
It might have actually suited them to lose and get a month off. Another month.
Yeah. They probably need, but they need games though. They need games like that game against Mayo. Is important for them to get fellas on the field. I don't think they're going to win it, but at least it'll let them know where they are. But like if they had lost that game, it would have been disaster. You know?
Pierce, yeah.
Mayo weren't top of the pops either now. Just the interesting thing on it, it's what 22nd of April. Like what teams? I don't think any team, but like Derry kind of got to a really high pitch in the league, but they were obviously there was a drop off from them. Donegal were kind of the other side that they were kind of up and down the National League, and they got a massive performance on Saturday. But like we were at the Kerry game, see Dublin last week, Galway, Mayo win. They get a win in Hyde Park, but again,
what did you make of the Mayo game, Paddy?
I think very similar to what we're seeing from lots of teams. Like there's no team that's pulling up trees at the minute. Bar Donegal's kind of outstanding performance. Tyrone are inconsistent anyway, but I think all of the big teams, like Kerry the same on Saturday, really lethargic first 20, 25 minutes. Like they win the game in the end, but like there's a very middle of the road performance from them. And Galway the same. I know they've had loads of injuries, but our team's kind of looking at this going, we don't need to be. And the reality is they don't need to be at full tilt in mid-April.
Well, Kerry and Dublin definitely don't need to be. But there is an element in Connacht where they have to be. They have to give that kind of final rattle because, as you said, a 1 or 2.
I do get the sense. Whatever winning the title, it's the seeding you get in your groups, and that's what I mean with the Ulster side. And I just know I'm going to the Armagh game on Saturday night. They'd be favourites to beat down. Armagh can win the Ulster Championship. That really opens up a path to an All-Ireland semi-final for them. Do you know what I mean? Without obviously winning the title is massive for them, but the seedings you get in the draw, like Derry are going to go into the All Ireland series now. They're going to be in someone's group, and it's going to be an absolute horror. It's going to be a horror show for someone.
Look, it's clear that McStay wants to remain in control of Mayo's rhythm. It's a word that he's used constantly this year. Every time I've heard him speak, he's used the word rhythm. We want to have the 2 week on 2 week on 2 week rhythm in our season. They started with 4 in attack. O'Shea and Conroy sticking inside. O'Donoghue and Boland a little bit deeper, and there was a lot of kicking in early on in that game. Kick 1 to Aidan O'Shea caused a bit of carnage. He breaks the ball, ends up at Roscommon hands. Kick 2 to Aidan O'Shea on 4 minutes. He just slips it to Paddy Durkin for a point. Kick 3 to Aidan O'Shea in the 8th minute. He goes through to score his 12th championship goal.
Great goal.
Now, We were speaking off air, Paddy, and you mentioned how Mayo's totally overpowered Roscommon in the third quarter and brought their running game back.
Yeah.
Why didn't they stick with their kicking game?
I don't think they were playing particularly well, T. And so I know they go in leading at half time. I know there was big issues around their long kickouts from Reap. Like Mayo's a massive strong point has been that running game for the last kind of decade plus. If you've got Aidan O'Shea inside, obviously you need to start varying that with a kick passing game. They get a couple into Ryan O'Donoghue as well, who I thought was outstanding yesterday. To be fair to him, carried on from, he said he obviously got confidence out of the big score he racked up against New York, but I thought he was excellent yesterday as well. I don't think there's any harm with what Mayo are doing in terms of, we'll try and bring this into our game, but also we know we can fall back onto a really powerful running game, and that's what ultimately wins them the game, even though they're struggling on the kickouts, and that's a credit to Davy Burke and what Roscommon and how they were set up and the energy they brought to it. And just the intensity. Roscommon seemed, we're talking about teams were up for it or getting to the pitch of it. I thought the first half, even though Roscommon go in behind, I thought they're probably the better team overall in the first half. But that third quarter, Mayo, it gets back to Tommy Connery really comes into the game. Ryan O'Donoghue was kind of consistently outstanding, and they start getting those runners from deep and punching holes in that Roscommon defence. Roscommon, we spoke with them before, they just looked like they ran out of puff completely. They had a couple of bad shots as well. Donny Smith and the Smith, a couple of bad wides, which that's not going to help you. But I just thought Mayo just seemed to have more legs, more energy from them as well. And overall, like, I know Galway on the other side was a poor performance against Sligo. Porrick was pretty scathing afterwards. There's not a lot he could have said, but I think Mayo win the game without being outstanding themselves either. I think they're in a reasonably happy position next day. As you can see, he said it after they lost control of their championship last year, losing the first round of the championship. But then if you have to remember, they had the 5 weeks off. They came back and gave one of their best displays of the season. They wiped Kerry in Fitzgerald Stadium after a 5-week gap. So I don't think it was all a disaster for Mayo going down the other road. But next day, you've said it. He's kind of consistently said we want to try and win the Connacht Championship, go in as top seeds and have our schedule set. I think they were full value for it yesterday without doing anything exceptional. But I wouldn't mind them varying their play and using, if Aidan O'Shea's in there, kick the fucking thing into him type thing. Mm-hmm. You know, I wouldn't. What's the point of having them in there in the first place? But they want more from Conroy. He glimpses yesterday, like I say, Ryan O'Donoghue was exceptional throughout. Probably need a little bit more from Paddy Odhran and Cowan at midfield. Paddy Odhran kind of hasn't really got back to probably 2 or 3 years ago. He was probably the forward midfielder in the country. He's kind of, I still think he's trying to struggle to find his best game. But for Mayo to win that game, they got to Salt Hill in 2 weeks. That's an interesting one to keep an eye on because, again, we could have said from the start with the Connacht Championship, we haven't seen any of the big teams pulling up trees. Roscommon kind of threw the forward, ran out of gas, kind of mirrored where their season has gone so far with the relegation as well. It's going to be a struggle for them to do anything in the All-Ireland series.
I was going to ask you that. We'll be talking about Galway Mayo in the next 2 weeks, but Roscommon, right, an interesting stat again from the Fitzmaurice column in the Examiner. Their conversion rate in really good conditions, 38% from play. They had more attacks than Mayo and 4 more shots than
Second half was a disaster.
They end up losing by 5. Tidy up that element of their game and they will be awkward.
Which they can.
Championship. Do you think they can turn it around? There's a little bit of discontent you sense from the county that they aren't. They look at their forwards, they think they've got very strong forwards and they do, and it's just not clicking for them. Do you think they can turn it around?
They
can.
What about our boy Ben O'Connor yesterday? Who I love, but he looked like a guy who missed a lot.
Ben O'Carroll did look rusty. He did. Yeah.
You see, it's not a good time of the year to be rusty. Like, I know this time.
Middle of the championship.
It's championship time, exactly. Like I know the season is different and everything, and teams are trying to peak physically. Peaking physically and being rusty are different. Do you know? I was nearly a little bit concerned with at the Kerry Cork game the way that there was kind of an element of rustiness, kind of dirty deeds as they call it down here, kind of around the place. But chasing your form, it's fine necessarily peaking physically. But I wouldn't want to be chasing form because 1 or 2 kind of poor performances can knock you for 6 completely mentally. You know, if you start off a championship poor, it's hard to kind of get your form going during a championship. You want to be there and kind of be in the zone early with it.
So let's talk about Kerry then, right? Because you're probably talking about the amount of times some of their star players. David Clifford, Paddy had a couple of poor wide. David Clifford lost possession 3 or 4 times. Like, was it the sand? Was it the surface? Was it a lack of championship paranoia? James, what did you think it was?
It's hard to know. It was just that lack of match practice. I think like they weren't fundamental problems or issues. It was just kind of something that would happen maybe once a game. Actually happened 4 times in the space of 7 or 8 plays, and the crowd were kind of thinking, "Geez, what's going on here?" And I suppose when David Clifford does anything wrong, it's so such a shock to the system that everyone kind of goes, "Oh, what's going on there?" So it's more, it kind of feeds through the whole team and through the ground. But yeah, I don't know. I think that game in Killarney was a strange one. And Cork came out and started very well, rattled Kerry a little bit, but there was still the air of inevitability about it coming into the last quarter that Kerry were going to win. But what was interesting about it,
the Cork spooked themselves.
They should have gone in up more at half time, really. And when they didn't, I don't think Kerry would have been too concerned at half time. Jack probably gave him a bollocking and said, "Get your act together a bit," but I don't think they were under too much pressure. But I think where Cork were in the wrong really was when Kerry held the ball for 5 minutes at the end. We talk about game management in the other matches. I know, but get a foul.
They were out on their feet. Like.
Get a foul. Do
no,
something.
No, I agree, but I can see why it happened.
Yeah, but say, do you know in the club scene, we were saying these games aren't kicking off until there's 10 minutes to go or 5 minutes to go, and then it's carnage. Cork lost their chance to bring a bit of carnage in that last 5 minutes because they were just watching Kerry hand pass the ball around. So they missed a trick there.
The game was there.
One mistake like that, or the ref could have done it for overcarrying, or if they put a bit more pressure on, they could have put Kerry under more pressure. But I think Kerry will be fine. I still think they've so much in the locker. They've so much quality on the field that they'll be fine. But it would be nice to see them take it up a few gears now for the Munster final.
Well, Clare got through their Waterford test.
Tommy, can I just say on Cork? Sorry, you asked.
Yeah,
were Cork spooked or Jimmy?
Did they spook themselves? Like they had such a good start, Paddy, and then they were pretty meek after that.
I think they ran out of gas. Really, and we've seen this in so many. Cork were playing mediocrely in Division 2. And we've seen this, and we'll see it throughout the provincial championships. The teams that are playing in the lower divisions, the reality is they're not playing at the highest intensity games. They don't have that in the legs and all the training and things you can do. And to be fair, so clearly said it afterwards as well. He was kind of disappointed that they couldn't keep the show on the road. For 20 minutes, they blew Kerry under the water. They should have been further ahead, but they were playing high octane, runners from deep, Powder, obviously Maguire in midfield, they get Walsh's goal. The full forward line were causing trouble, more so Hurley, to be fair, Chris O'Jones.
God, Hurley was on.
Shout out to Paul Murphy, who did a really, really good job on it, to be fair. But the energy Cork were playing at, and particularly the fucking heat, we were all there. That was going to be a massive ask for them to keep that up for 75 minutes. You felt they needed. They went in, okay, they had a very small lead, but you felt the third quarter is going to be important here to kind of get the break and then come back out and try and get that fast start again. They only scored 2 frees in the third quarter through Hurley, struggling for scores from play, and all the energy and the intensity they were playing in the first half was gone long before the final 5 minutes where Kerry kept the ball. And you could just see it. We were sitting there looking at it, and you're just going, someone just take a black card and pull someone down. You can't let them. Kerry are too good to let them to do that. They would have kept the ball for even longer. But Cork, you could physically just had nothing in the legs to go after.
Yeah,
that's the reality with teams in the lower divisions. They're not used to playing at that intensity for 75 minutes. I don't think it was a mental thing from Cork that they were spooked. I agree with Jimmy. Like Jack O'Connor spoke afterwards, kind of hit the nail on the head. He goes, we haven't played a match in a while. We were like handling errors, not just from Clifford. That was obviously Kerry, Cork. It was a poor quality game, wasn't it, lads? It was like lots of just mistakes, turnovers, handling it. Perfect conditions. And going, how did everyone spinning the ball so much? It was
first 20 minutes. First 20 minutes were fun. Kerry them were good coming into half time, and in the second half was just fairly meek.
As well, that's what they were kind of.
I agree.
6 out of 10 type thing, but that was enough to win the game for him. I agree with Jimmy. Like there was never a sense, even Cork's fast start, just if you're Kerry, Kerry are not going to lose this match.
No, they were never.
Maybe that plays into Cork side.
They were never completely in trouble. But I suppose the only not concerning thing, but if you were to say what Kerry can work on, definitely the sharpness in possession. But Cork did get in for. They got in for a lot of goal chances around the back.
Running games, you mean?
Yeah, but as well, Chris O'Jones, in fairness to him, he makes those runs in behind. It's like they kind of open up the space for those. It's like they kind of drift out to try and get in behind again, like almost get over the top in a soccer match, like break the offside. That's the way they kind of set up, and they just have so many channels to run then to get in behind teams. And you're right, they did play such a ferocious intensity in the first half. It was hot in Clarny as well. They probably did run out of gas, but I think Kerry need to just tweak something defensively. And the fact that they've had to switch their fullback, centre back, and half back and jumble them up probably doesn't help really.
Yes,
you could see that could be. Like I say, Jason Foley's hopefully from Kerry's perspective looking to come back. That could be a big issue later in the season. Like Ty Morley is a very important defender for Kerry, but he's probably not a man-to-man mark on the full back line. I think Hurley did quite well in that battle. But just those spaces, that 20 minutes, it was just flashbacks for me last summer against Mayo. Team running at pace at Kerry. You're just thinking they've work to do in that area, without a doubt. And that was highlighted in that first quarter by Cork.
Yeah. You'd love to know how McGuinness has gotten Donegal up to that level of pace that's needed. When you look at Cork there, how many sessions did it take to get Donegal to where
every
they
day,
are?
every day.
We'll see.
6 months.
We'll see how long that lasts. As I mentioned, Clare, back-to-back Munster finals. James, final question to you. Munster final against Clare in 2 weeks. The word is they're tossing for home advantage this evening, I think.
Oh, yeah?
But I personally think Kerry should request to play in Cusack Park.
Why?
Sharpen themselves. Bit more of a challenge. Enter the bear pit.
And look, Cusack Park looked good yesterday.
Beautiful pitch.
Cusack Park and Full House looked beautiful yesterday.
But it's a great pitch for
Munster
football.
final was on in Clare last time, wasn't it? We were at it.
No, last year was in the Gaelic grounds, and usually between these two, it's in the Gaelic grounds. We were there last year, but the Great Limerick Run is on this time, that day. So it's going to be played either in Killarney or in Cusack Park, so they're tossing for it. But I personally think that Kerry could do with a bit more of a challenge. Getting themselves ready for.
I don't think they'll fancy that. It must have found in Killarney be the right job, wouldn't it? Don't have to go too far for it.
I don't know.
But realistically,
yeah, Killarney was hopping now Saturday night. You obviously couldn't enjoy it because you had a match on Sunday.
True.
Were you out on Saturday night, Killarney tea?
No, I wasn't. I went home after the Derry Donegal game, Paddy. I legged it.
Yeah, dead right. Very mature.
Okay.
Team.
Lads, we will be catching up tomorrow actually for our members pod, and we'll get that out to you. We'll be looking ahead to another 4 provincial semi-finals this weekend. We've got the Ulster semi-finals down Armagh, live in GA going Saturday night. Paddy will be up at that. We've got Tyrone Donegal on Sunday, that's live on BBC, and then a double header live in GA go on Sunday. The Kildare Loud game 1:45 in Croke Park, and Dublin Offaly 4 o'clock in Croke Park. Boys, get your homework done for tomorrow's members pod. We're previewing all of that. I'll let you go.
Not a great weekend ahead, lads, is it?
Thanks. Not as exciting.
I think Tyrone Donegal.
No,
I think the Ulster semi-finals.
Yes.
And Kildare Loud. Kildare Loud is going to be good.
To be fair, yeah. Dublin Offaly will be a belter as well.
It's just Dublin Offaly's probably casting a bit of a shadow over the whole weekend.
Could be tight.
Chat tomorrow, boys.
Paddy, James, that was good. Appreciate it.
All right, boys.
Talk to you soon.
See you later.